Son, son. All right. I hope people can hear me because this sounds okay. So hopefully it's good. All right. All right. So I'm gonna just go while I'm here. So what's up, everybody? I'm back with another episode of Musician Sabbath Mondays. I ain't gonna lie, it took me mad long to get on here because I couldn't get no video on my phone. So that was weird. But hope everybody's day is going good. Down to the wire. Christmas season is here. Hope everybody's Sunday was good. I know this is like cantata week for a lot of people. Everybody's doing like Christmas programs and you know the services is like mad special. So hopefully everybody, especially musicians out there, because I know we've had to work hard on that stuff for like maybe a month or two. So hope everybody's Sunday cantata Christmas program work day today was cool. Um, yeah, I'm not gonna be on here long because I gotta be at work by 4. So I'm gonna try to make this quick. Talk about a few things. Um, definitely want to talk about. We're gonna talk about comfort zones today. Okay, comfort zones, pros, cons. You know how it affects you because I've been there, done that. Comfort zones. Being complacent, settling. Stuff like that. So hopefully, you know, we get a good chat and get to talk for a little bit, and then I want to talk about. It's a few posts I've seen about like church being a business. So I want to talk about that too. Um, but just a little check in. Like I said, my Sunday was pretty good. We had our cantata or our Christmas program, as you want to call it. Um, I'm not sure why it just seems like it's always like a heightened expectation when it comes to like special services. You know, it's just weird. I guess it's because of the holiday season, but for the most part, it's just by the time you get to the end of it, like once you're working in the whole thing, like you just be ready to get it over with. So that was cool. Today, of course, it's Monday, so 9 to 5ers. You definitely Still trying to get over the day before, which is Sunday, being at church, the whole nine. Um, so yeah, really nothing really crazy happened that I know of that I can think about right now. Just the usual Sunday service, except it was a, Christmas program, brought by the music and arts ministry. So nothing really crazy happened that I can think of right now. If it comes up, I'll explain it at some point. But yeah, other than that, today was cool as well. Work was work. You know, I've had to get up at like two something for like the past week or so. Tomorrow's the last day of that. So I'm so glad peak season is about to be over. So yeah, let's go. Let's get in right into it because I don't want to be here too long. Comfort zones. I was thinking about this literally at work. I'm not gonna lie. I'm really a thinker, so like I'm thinking about stuff, thinking about different topics when I'm at work, when I'm walking around. If I happen to be pacing the floor, praying or something like that, like I'll, do, all the thinking and different ideas and picture myself kind of saying certain things or expressing certain things. Just thinking about comfort zones and different times where I've witnessed it either with my own personal life or with people that I know, secondhand, Um kind of thought about the idea that, there are pros and cons. I know people usually talk about comfort zones in like more of the cons more than the pros, but we're going to talk about both. So, before I get to that, I am live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Um and you can reach me there or view this on YouTube at He's Just Churchy. Facebook here, Brandon Cunningham, just my first and last name. And then Twitch is the same thing. He's Just Churchy. So whatever platform you feel led to check it out on, feel free. Um, so yeah, comfort zones. When I think about comfort zones, a lot of times, like any other person would, I think naturally, you think about like settling, complacency, with a little side of how do I say this? With a side of like inconsistency. Like if somebody's, in a comfort zone, it's something familiar, it's something that you've always known, something that you've always been taught, some place, person, or thing that you've always been connected to in some way. Um, Again, a lot of times you think about comfort zones, you think about, you know, getting out of it, or you think about a comfort zone being in a way like a stumbling block for going through something new or going through something that you may be unaware of or unfamiliar with, right? So I definitely want to talk about both the pros and the cons. So just starting with the cons, right? When I think about the cons of a comfort zone, this is how I think. Um, I'll use myself an example. It's called Musician Sabbath Mondays. So I'll use myself as a musician. The church I work at currently now, I pretty much grew up. I was born like as a member of that church. Um, and then of course as time went on, I wasn't there for a while. Came back, as a member in my adult life. And then I worked my way up to playing drums. You know, um, because of my time spent there, that became a comfort zone in a good way, to where back when I was like really able to practice playing drums, I knew I can go there to play or to practice. Um, I would go from literally, I'll email the pastor and be like, "Hey, pastor, is the church available on this day for me to come and practice for a couple hours?" And he said, "Yeah, just come up, anytime after a certain time." Cool. It got to a point where I would do it so much, I emailed him one time and he was just like, you know, just show up, ring the doorbell, somebody let you in. That right there is an example of a comfort zone because it's something familiar. It's something that you can always refer to, go back to, especially when, my time as the drummer there, even years ago, um, because I did right by the church I worked at, and because I had a relationship with a lot of people there who were close to the music ministry, who were in the ministry. Like I have a lot of family there, a lot of cousins. I'm really close to a lot of the singers, a lot of the musicians, a lot of the, the people who have been like music ministry leaders. Um, that right there is an example of being like it's a pro for that to be a comfort zone, because I know that no matter what, if I need something, if I want to go practice, if I need support in any kind of way, I know I can go to that church and, you know, just ask for whatever I need. Like I said, even something as simple as practicing, that's a comfort zone. I'm comfortable going to that church and asking, hey, is it cool if I can stop by and play? If I can stop by and practice? You know what I mean? That right there is a good example of the pros of being in a comfort zone. Um, that's why it's important for musicians to, whenever you play somewhere, whether you're whether you're a member of that church, or whether you're just working as a musician, or as they want to say a hireling, always walk in integrity. Um, it would be hard to see a church as a comfort zone or a safe place, if you want to call it that, if you're not faithful, you're not committed, you don't show growth, you kind of, you just kind of do what you want, you make it painfully obvious that you're there for a bag. Um, stuff like that. It makes it hard for anywhere you work, even if it's even outside of music. It's hard for anywhere to be a place of comfort or safety when your approach to that job isn't really giving that you are, faithful, again, dependable. Sorry, y'all. Hold on. Um, so that right there is an example of the pros of, being in a comfort zone, or in a place where it can be a place of safety or comfort. You feel me? Okay. So again, thinking about the pros of comfort zones. Um, again, I think that a lot of times a place can be made into a comfort zone when, again, you have, integrity, when people can feel like they can trust you, when people feel like, they can depend on you, they know that if they call you, you know, they can trust that whatever you are needed for, that you can get it done, that you can, if you can do it, you'll say it. If you can't do it, you'll say it. You know what I mean? And I think a lot of times that's the issue. A lot of times with musicians, and I don't want to say especially young, because I think older musicians sometimes can do this too. It's like we won't communicate. You know what I mean? It's like it's hard to trust somebody who doesn't communicate. It's hard to rely on somebody or feel like you can rely on somebody who, again, if they can't do something, they won't say they can't do it. Instead, they'll tell you yes, and then it's almost like you got to chase after them to get them to like remember or to commit to their word. You know what I mean? So again, a pro, I won't get too much into the negatives yet, but again, that's a major thing with being you know, being a pro, or showing the pros of a comfort zone. You know what I mean? Dependability, availability, um, being able to communicate, being able to, keep your word. Again, if you can't do it, you can't do it. Okay, that's fine. If you can do it, great. I think a lot of times that checks the boxes off of whether, even you yourself can be viewed as a comfort zone. Because again, you know, of also comfortability even comes with relationship. You know what I mean? Which is why, again, that's why I say with musicians, if you are working at a church, Whether you're there for the bag strictly, or whether you're there, as a member giving your all, it's important to always keep your name clean, be integral, do the right thing, keep your word. You know what I mean? Because I will even say this, you know, I honestly don't have a problem with musicians who play just for the money, but I think that the issue comes when it's like your dedication don't really match. You know what I mean? Like if you really there for a bag, you're doing what you can and you're giving your best because you're getting the bag. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? So again, being a safe place or a comfort zone, if you will, it has a lot to do with, again, building a relationship of trust, of being able to, again, be dependable, being trustworthy, being honest, you know, being communicative, if that's the correct word to use. Um, so yeah, that's pretty much like the positives of it. I think that most churches that I've played at, if not all of them, if I needed something from them, so of course something, reasonable, but if I needed something, if I needed a favor, if I needed some support, I believe that each church that I've played at, I've pretty much been integral to where they don't mind helping me. You know what I mean? Even though a few of those churches I've worked at, I may not have been a member, but again, it's just little things that you can do that a church can be like, you know what? They have a good heart. You know what I mean? Like I know that they don't go to this church, but whenever I need them for something, I can call them. And again, if they can't do it, they'll let me know. And if they can do it, I know it's going to get done. You know what I mean? So I think that's, again, something that makes something a safe place slash comfort zone. It's easy to be familiar with something when, when you're integral, when you mean well, when you do right by people. You know what I mean? You don't want to be the person that, you're known for, being conniving, or for being, someone who can't be trusted, or someone who steals or lies, or, you know what I mean? And I think these days and times, it's really about just keeping your name clean. You know what I mean? So that's what I'll say about that. I think that, a comfort zone is only made comfortable by how you handle the situation you're in. You know what I mean? And sometimes I think that, even my advice, even to musicians who are, quote unquote hirelings, I would say that even if you're not necessarily a member of that church that you're working at, still do your job so well, be so integral that not only can you become, not only can they be a safe space for you, but you can be a safe space for them. You know what I mean? You know, don't be that person who's just like, when somebody, a pastor is, they're recommended to you, or you're recommended to that pastor, where it's like, once they go to, check on references, and they'll call a pastor that's in the same city or something, and that pastor is like, you don't want to do that. You don't want to hire that person. When they played at my church for about a year or two, they stole, they didn't show up on time. They were late to services, late to rehearsals. They were late to, you know, things that we had going on, but they were, the first one to leave when it was over. Like, you want to make sure that you are a safe space, or comfort zone for them, as much as you could be, as much as they could be for you. It kind of works hand in hand. Um, One other thing I thought about comfort zone, pros of a comfort zone is, you know, a lot of times you can also, you know, find that in, even when it comes to you, maybe as a musician, speaking as a musician, even when you aren't able to make a, even when you aren't able to make a service, or you're not able to make a, an event that they may have and they may need you, you know, that church can, again, you can be that comfort zone to where that if you can't make something, that church has no problem with whoever you bring in to fill your spot, whether long term or short term, whether it's for one service or whether you're taking a sabbatical and taking off for a month. You know what I mean? Again, it could go the comfort zone thing can really go hand in hand. Um, you want to be able to, you want the trust to be able to be mutual. You go to a church and you want to be able to trust that, I know that if they said they're going to pay me 150 or 175 for a service, I don't have to wonder at any point of the service whether I'm going to get paid or not, and whether the money is going to be there or not. That's one thing I will say about the church I work at right now, Zion Fair Baptist Church, is you don't ever have to worry about getting played out of money. That's one thing, that's one thing I can find quote unquote comfort in. You don't ever have to worry about, you know, wondering if they're going to have enough money, you know, to pay you, or if the check's going clear, or, if they have to, take a while, after service for you to get your check. Nah, like I can say that about Zion Fair. Like when they do business right, which again would make them a comfort zone because you can trust them, you can rely on them, you can believe that if they say, hey, you're getting 175 for this service, you are not going to get a check, that says 125. You know what I mean? And that means a lot because a lot of times you see musicians, they go on lives and they go on these posts, and you hear stories about, you know, it's been 6 months and I got hired to play at this conference or this gig, and the person that was supposed to pay me, I haven't heard from them in 6 months. I've been calling them, I've been texting them, I've been, trying to, hit them up on Facebook, and I've been like, I'm grateful for the places that I've played at, that I've never had to be like overly concerned about whether I was going to get paid that Sunday. And if there was, and I will say this about Ezion too, if there was a mix up when it came to money, I knew right away. Like I didn't have to go home without my check and have to hear something about an update about that 2 days later. You know what I mean? So again, that makes for a good comfort zone because you can trust, that whatever assignment you have at that one church, that one place, you don't have to worry about trying to, you know, you don't have to be confused. You ain't got to be skeptical. You ain't got to think about snapping on nobody. You ain't got to think about crashing out because hey, when they tell me something, when they tell me something, I know I can bank on it that whatever they tell me I'm getting, I'm gonna get, and it won't take them long to get it to me because they keep their word. You know what I mean? Which is why again a comfort zone right there is the kind of place where no matter where I play at, if I need something from them or they need something from me, I don't have an issue with going there and playing again, or I don't have an issue with, you know, I don't have an issue with going back and feeling good about it, or going back and, you know, hoping that I don't regret it. So I don't know what that was. But yeah, so that's what that is. So Then we get to the part where you have the pros. Um, Now this can kind of go in all facets because I do feel like sometimes the cons of a comfort zone can, what I said before, it can cause complacency, it can cause laziness, it can cause inconsistencies, it can cause stagnation. And one thing I've learned is that it also will taint or stunt your growth. Um, I feel like a lot of times, um, comfort zones, while it's very, it makes sense sometimes because again, it's familiar, it's what you've known, it's what you've seen before, it's what you've been around, all that's cool. But I think that also it can stop you from doing what you're really meant to do. I think that a lot of times you can pray about something, you can really want something really bad, and if you're impatient like me, which I can be, um, you'll also, if it don't get to you fast enough, you'll do stuff like retreat to what's comfortable, retreat to what you feel like works or what has worked for you. Um, Even, speaking as a Christian, the one thing about faith is that if you aren't careful and your faith ain't really up to where it should be, you'll revert to a comfort zone that will have you stuck. Um, I think that again, that's the con of a comfort zone, is that it will have you wishing for something new while you're in something that's old. Hi, that's my son, y'all. But I think that's a real con of comfort zones. It'll keep you stuck, and sometimes it'll give you a false confirmation of what you think is the right move. He's in here. He's in here. Brayden. So you want to say something?
That's
Okay. Can I finish talking? Yes. Come on, I want you to hurt yourself. So yeah, um, I think that a con to comfort zones, it'll give you it can give you also a false sense of security. It'll give you a false sense of feeling like, okay, well, since what I'm believing for hasn't come yet, let me go over here to what I've always known and stay there. And sometimes, like real faith, it'll cause you to take steps that you think aren't there. You know what I mean? Um, I've been in situations where, I've, you know, regressed, or I've retreated to certain things because it's like, okay, I done prayed about this like 50, 11 times, and I ain't seen no clues. I ain't seen no confirmations. So I'm just gonna go back to what I know. I'm just gonna go back to what I've always known because the people there I know, the way things are ran, I'm proficient in it. I've worked with that for years. Like, and I think sometimes also, again, that can stunt your growth. It could feed a fear. You know what I mean? It can feed anxiety because instead of you taking the steps, instead of you taking the initiative to be like, I'm gonna step out and do this, again, you'll revert back to what's familiar. You'll revert back to, you know, going to something that you feel like, well, this never lets me down. So let me go ahead and just do this for now, because at least with this, I don't have to worry about, you know, messing up, or I don't have to worry about being fearful. I don't have to worry about being nervous. You know what I mean? Even with, you know, even an example, like, I ain't gonna lie, the whole gala, playing for um a couple of the Clark sisters and Kiara Sheard, a part of me was thinking like I couldn't do it because it's like, you know, a part of me is like, well, I mean, I'm all right in church, like in a church setting, okay, but I don't know if I can do this. I'm like imagining in my mind, how nervous I'm going to be. I'm thinking to myself how, you know, how I might mess up, how they may not like my playing, how they may think I'm trash. Like, I'm thinking all this stuff. And of course, the comfort zone within wants to be like, you know what? Nah, I'm not gonna do it. I'm gonna just tell them, I can't make it. I'm gonna tell them I can't do it this time. I'm gonna tell them I'll do it next time. But the part of me that wanted to do it and that wanted to step out there was like, nah, bro. Like, you can do this. Like, you can do this. Like, you don't have to. Like, first of all, stop thinking yourself as the least. You're not trash on drums, and that's humbly speaking. Like, you're not trash on drums. You're not, you know, you're not no slouch. You are good enough. You can do this. You know what I mean? And then, of course, one of my other thoughts was too, like, Kiara Sheard, Karen Clark Sheard, and at the time we thought we was getting her Twinkie Clark. The N word part of me was like, bro, they just regular people. They just regular people. Like, learn the music and play it to the best of your abilities. Yo, I used to hear about that too, bro. That's funny. Facts. Like, not gonna lie, I was still in a way nervous when I got there, but at the same time, like, I still was like, nah, we gonna do this. Like, we gonna do this. Like, we not. First of all, it's too late now. Cause I ain't gonna lie, I got nervous about the whole thing once I seen the stage set up. Once I seen that the drums were directly in the middle of the stage, I was like, okay, so everybody's gonna see me. So everybody's gonna see me. So, but then in my mind, I'm just like, well, we here now. Like, ain't no comfort zone. Ain't no comfort zone. We here now. We didn't have a rehearsal. I've been listening to the songs nonstop until I couldn't listen no more. I done got dressed up in this suit, put on this bow tie, did this sound check. Listen, at that point, I was just like, you know what? We here now. But that goes to let you know that sometimes you don't think about comfort zones until you get into a place where you're uncomfortable. You know what I mean? Yeah, bro. That's like my thought process with everything these days. Like, bruh, they regular people. Cause I actually ended up talking to one of the artists, while we was walking them to the elevator or whatever. And like, we didn't converse for like that long, but like, I'm in my mind like, yo, she really cool. Like, she cool in real life. Like ain't nothing like famous people who are like genuinely cool, who like you can like really hold a conversation with and then not feel like you talking to a artist or a celebrity. Like Lady Shit was cool. But it's crazy how, like, again, you don't think about comfort zones until you're in a space where it's like, either I could do this or I could just revert back to what I'm used to, or I can revert back to what I've always known. You know what I mean? And then especially because like what I would do too, which is a good idea to do too, when you get into that place of like thinking about retreating to your comfort zone, you also got to think like this too. This is what you want, right? Like like I don't want to I don't want to you don't want to be that person to be like, when I get to this place, I want to do X, Y, and Z. And then you kind of get to a place where like it can set you up for that X, Y, and Z. And then every time it's time for you to make that step, you punk out. Or every time it's time for you to, you know, take that next step or do something that may be new to you, you start feeling like, well, I don't know about this. I don't know if I want to, like, nah, like, no, you gotta think like that too. Like, you've been asking for this. You hear like, hey, you know what I mean? And especially for me, like, yo, I've come a long way. Okay. I used to be nervous about everything. For real. Especially when people think you're dope at something. It's different because like now you're almost thinking about it from a point of like, okay, they think I'm dope. So now like there's an expectation that comes with that now. Like Like, not that you, especially when you're like a perfectionist at what you do, you want to make sure that you meet that expectation. Not necessarily in a way where you're like people pleasing or trying to please people, but you know there's an expectation there, and you can't be less than what you know you can do. You know, so let me see what you about to say, bro. Yeah, man. Yeah, man. And I feel like also too, like, even as the more you do the new things, you get exposed to certain things too. So after a while, certain stuff don't make you nervous no more. Or like you'll still be nervous in like a healthy like way, but you ain't gonna be nervous to where you thinking like, okay, I'm gonna retreat to this because this is what I know. Like, nah, you gonna be like, okay, you know what? This is new, but let's do it. It's whatever. You know what I mean? You know? Cause like I said this before in one of the other episodes or whatnot. Like, when you don't necessarily come from like a place where you're around a bunch of musicians or around a bunch of artists, it get real different when you do have moments where like, okay, you about to be around this person, you about to be playing for this person, like, you know, especially again, being a perfectionist, you want to make sure that you're doing the right thing. So yeah, man, the cons of comfort zones. It gets real. Comfort zones, sometimes we make comfort zones out of fear. Sometimes we make comfort zones out of anxieties. Sometimes we make comfort zones out of, you know, being afraid of what's next. And that's when like you got to be brave. Again, like we was talking about before, like you got to think about like, okay, like we said before, you got to remember your why. And sometimes you got to do it even while you're scared. You got to do it while you're nervous. You got to do it while you're contemplating whether you're ready or not. You know, I honestly think that, again, I'm a Christian. I honestly feel like God wouldn't put something in front of you to pursue if he couldn't equip you for it. You know what I mean? Like, if you can't play the tracks, right? I don't think God's going to put you in a position where you're playing in front of thousands of people and you got to play with tracks. Nah, because then that trust me, that comfort zone is gonna seem like a much better place to be in than whatever situation that you about to put yourself into, than whatever you're about to agree to. So I think again, you know, comfort zones, they can sometimes also be illusions, because I know sometimes where I've been asked to play something or play somewhere, and because I was so nervous, you know, my comfort zone was just saying, "Oh no, no, I can't do that. No." And you think you're just being humble when it's like, nah, you really being a scaredy cat. Like that's what it is. Like it's not you trying to be, oh, no, I just couldn't. Nah, nah. What it is you either don't believe in yourself, it's unfamiliar to you, or you're scaring yourself out of it. You're scaring yourself out of it. You getting this opportunity that you've been praying for or wishing for, and now all of a sudden you're all of a sudden trying to think about reasons why you can't do it. You're thinking about why you shouldn't do it. You're thinking about what makes you not ready. Nah, that's a trick, man. That's a trick, man. And again, comfort zones. They're cool until they're not. Comfort zones will have you in cycles. Comfort zones will have you in cycles to where when an opportunity finally does come and it finally does present itself, you'll be like, I'd rather do this because I've always known this. And this new opportunity don't look like this one. So I'm gonna go with this one because it seems to be the best. It seems to be the best option. I know these people. I know how to do this. I can do this because I'm skilled and I can do it with my eyes closed, or because I know these people and I know how to work with them. I know how they work. We work well together, and through the ups and downs, I know them like the back of my hand. And sometimes your new opportunities that come along isn't going to be predicated upon what you're comfortable with, which is the point of, again, a new, like, going to new things, new opportunities. you know I think that a lot of times, we don't tell the truth when it comes to comfort zones. And again, if somebody's dream is to make it big doing something, what I mean, and they all of a sudden acting like they scared to do the new thing that could lead them to that opportunity, you gotta tell them, like, yo, ain't this what you want though? Like I know that you're an expert at this. I know that you're proficient at this, or you're efficient at this, and this is what you know since you were younger. You've mastered this, but at some point you gotta do something else. You know what I mean? Because even in today's society, like, even whatever your comfort zone is, it ain't cutting it no more. Everything's expensive now. So, I'll use myself as an example. Sorry, y'all. As an example, um, I'm a drummer. I play drums, right? Cool. You know, Now's the time for me, even in doing this, you know, and not just because I'm looking for income, whatever, but like my heart's into what I'm doing right now. But we're in a day where, like, you got to be able to do more than what you've always done. You got to be able to stretch out and do more than what's in your comfort to do. These days, you got to have more than one skill. You got to be able to do more than one thing at a time. You know what I mean? And that's just the way of the world. You got to be able to do more than what your comfort zone will permit you to do. Because again, the cons of a comfort zone will make you feel like, okay, if I just take it easy, if I just kind of settle for this, I'll be okay. It'll stop me from being hurt. It'll stop me from experiencing pain or letdowns or disappointment. You know what I mean? Not even knowing that even in your comfort zone, you can still experience disappointment. You can still experience being let down. The only difference between that of being in a comfort zone and going into something new is that what's new may not be as familiar, but you're still liable to pretty much be disappointed in the comfort zone. You know what I mean? So, that's why it's important to, like, even again, even if you have to do it scared, like, even if you have to do it scared, if you have to do it with a little bit of anxiety, with a little bit of fear, with a little bit of, with a little bit of just being like skepticism. Like, I think that, a lot of times, again, even doing something, trying something new and failing at it, that's better than settling for a cycle, or it's better than, you know, going through the same season of things, being upset that you're in it, and then, just again, a cycle of disappointment just from a place of familiarity. You know what I mean? So I think that, when you think about comfort zones, you got to think like, okay, it's better than to go out into the deep and do something new, do something different, than to and fail at doing something different, than to be in a cycle that you're probably sick of anyway, and then failing at that cycle, being disappointed in that familiar cycle, being let down during that familiar, you know what I mean? Like, I think that, you know, again, you don't want to be stagnant off of running in place. You know what I mean? Like, a mouse can want to go on the other side of the cage, but that mouse ain't gonna get off. That mouse ain't gonna get to that part of the cage if it's still running on that wheel. Like, that mouse got to do something new. You gotta run off. You gotta get off the wheel and actually go and take the steps towards where you're trying to go. You know what I mean? I hope that's a good example. Yeah. Exactly, bro. Exactly, bro. And like I said, in this day and time, like, you kind of have to pick up a new skill. Rent's going up like crazy every year for people. Mortgages going insane in prices. And it's weird because, like, even when we moved from the apartment, before we moved, to the house or whatever, it's wild because it's almost like, I think we were told this too by the landlord, that pretty much like the place we were at, they're trying to compete with the housing market. And we're like, that makes no sense. Like, how does that even make sense that, you know that you can be living in an apartment, and the apartment people are trying to pretty much, like, again, they're trying to be in this race with people who are trying to be homeowners. Like, that don't even make sense. But again, the comfort zone of being in an apartment, you know, in which, in an apartment, you can, if there's something wrong with your appliances, you know, the landlord pretty much takes care of it. You know what I mean? You're not really paying for nobody to fix your sink, or fix a leak, or fix a door. You know what I mean? Versus you taking that step to being a homeowner, and you got so much anxiety that the comfort zone of, you know, being in an apartment, it's like, okay, now you're like, okay, I'd rather be doing that than live in a house, and I got to worry about, paying for a plumber. I got to pay for an electrician. I got to pay for an HVAC special. Like, again, sometimes, and then the whole thing is that, like, it'll have you, comfort zones will have you going against your own wishes. Like I said before, like, you so scared about that part about being a homeowner that you're willing to stay in a place where you don't even want to be no more. You tired of that apartment. You tired of that job. You're tired of, you know, you're tired of, you know, doing the same thing you've been doing for years. You done mastered it, and you're low key looking for something, or high key looking for something to, to do. You're looking for that new skill to pick up, but at the same time, that comfort zone, is calling you, because like it's created it's feeding a fear of what's new, or feeding a fear of what could be. You know what I mean? I know for me, you know, I think that I've had to learn to not let a comfort zone of mine not make me afraid of failure. You know what I mean? Um Being afraid of failure is a thing that, I ain't gonna lie, it's hard to get over. It's hard to kind of tunnel through, because again, you have what you're comfortable with. Even with what you're comfortable with being successful, inside, like, you're still like, you need to do something new. But because the new thing looks different, the people involved are different, you want to bring people along with you. But no, some things it's going to be just you need to do this, you need to pursue that, because you know everybody can't go. You know what I mean? For real, bro. I lie to you not, bro. The landlord from the apartment we was living in was definitely saying how, like, they're pretty much trying to keep up with the housing market, and we're looking at each other like, huh? Like, what? Like, this is an apartment. Like, rent going up $100. The rent was going up like $100 like the past 3 or 4 years. Like, that's wild, because y'all trying to keep up with the housing market. We in an apartment. Like, yo, that don't even make no sense, bro. That's like having a family van and you call yourself trying to keep up with a Mustang. Like, wait, those are two totally different cars. Like, they're not even the same type of car. Like, a minivan is not even meant to go at the same speed of a Mustang. Like, that don't even make no sense. But anyway, yeah. Like, comfort zones can definitely be that. Like, it can be that thing that feeds fear. It'll have you going against the progress that you want to make yourself. You know what I mean? You can want to do something and be sure about it, and then when opportunity comes for you to actually take that step for what's new, your comfort zone to be like, "Are you sure?" And sometimes I think one of the hardest things for us to ignore is that comfort zone, because it's almost like, once your comfort zone calls you and you hear it, it's like, bro, now I'm thinking twice as hard. At first, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna do this, yeah, but now it's just like, dang. Now you call yourself weighing options, and one of the options ain't nothing but you just re-engaging in the cycle that is getting you nowhere. Like, yeah. So yeah, fight that. Yeah, bro. Literally, bro. Okay, this is my guy, so I gotta tell him. You like, yo, you don't understand, bro. While rent was going up like it was, it felt like every month, or at least every other month, we were asking for something to be fixed. Like, like, the at one point, the one of the doorknobs from the closet doors kept falling off. We had to ask maintenance to come by twice to get it fixed. Like, one of the little, I don't even know what it's called. The little holder for the soap that's by the sink. That joint broke off one day. Like, bro, it's one of the things where it's like, It's almost like how I feel about like streaming networks, bro. It's like if y'all gonna be jacking these prices up for Hulu and HBO Max and Netflix, I'm gonna need to see some better content. I'm gonna need to see some dope movies. I'm gonna need to see some dope shows. It was the same thing for that apartment, bro. On everything. I'm like, if we gonna be getting, if we gonna be paying $100 more every year for rent, I'm gonna need something to be updated. Something. I'm gonna need something to where I ain't gotta call maintenance every other month because something done broke or something stopped working. You know what I mean? Like that was my that's I would say that every time, bro. Every time we would have to get something fixed, I would tell Tyra, like, bro, we're paying $100 more every year, and I feel like I gotta call maintenance or we gotta put in a maintenance request to have something fixed because something broke, something stopped working. The heat ain't blowing out no real hot air, or it's taking too long for the AC to come on. Like, bro, and even this is an example. And honestly, it's you know it happens, but bro, I think this is the frame of mind I was in because again, we're paying extra every year, like almost like $100 every year. Like, bro, it was during the dead summertime. And I'm like way off topic, but we was in the summertime, right? And This is like this is during literally the hottest. We're going into the hottest weekend of the summer. It was supposed to be like 95, 96 degrees for like 3 or 4 straight days from like Friday to Monday, I think. We get a call from Braden's aunt who was watching them. She watches them during the day while we're working. She's like, "Hey, did you know that the AC does not work? Like the AC stopped working?" It's like, okay, cool. We'll reach out to the maintenance person, whatever. I don't think we got any answer or nothing really happened. So by the time we're getting home, the apartment is hot. And I ain't gonna say too many details, but by the time things got halfway situated, we had to stay at the in-laws for that whole weekend, bro. The whole building ain't have no AC. It's crazy. Yo, I hope that don't happen, bro. I hope that don't happen because yeah, that's gonna be a whole like monopoly type situation. That's gonna get real weird. But yeah, yeah, man. Comfort zones. Like I said, my biggest thing that I thought about with this was comfort zones creating illusions. It'll make you feel like you're making the right decision because it's familiar to you. Comfort zones will make you feel like you're making the right decisions because you know whew, okay. Because now I know what I'm getting myself into when I do this. When I involve myself in this, I know what I'm getting. It may be annoying. It may cause me to be uncomfortable, but at least I know what I'm getting myself into. Like it'll cause you to nah. I'd rather be uncomfortable doing the new thing than to be uncomfortable and be stuck in something I ain't got to be stuck in. You know what I mean? So that's something that, again, we got to think about. Again, re-examining your why. I think I talked about that before. But re-examining your why. Don't let your comfort zone dictate how you move because you'll be in that comfort zone forever. It's comfortable, it's familiar. Again, you see people, you see things that you've seen before, Everything looks cozy and comfortable. Everything looks like, oh, okay, this is easy. I can do that. Listen, you definitely want to, just be in a place where, like, okay, this is comfortable, but I know I have goals outside of what's comfortable for me. Again, use myself an example. This is not comfortable to me yet. I'm not gonna lie. I still get mad nervous when I got to get ready for this. I still get nervous thinking about, okay, what can I say? I still get nervous trying to make sure that, you know, what I'm thinking makes sense, make sure it's on point, and again, even, not trying to think so far ahead because again, I'm a thinker. So my comfort zone sometimes can be that, I got to think about it first. I got to overthink it first. And you think about it so much that now you ain't done nothing. You ain't made no move because you're too busy thinking about what you're thinking about. You're too busy thinking about what can go wrong, what can go right, who's going to care, who's going to listen, who's going to be inspired, who's going to care about what you got to say. Like stuff like that will cause you to retreat into a comfort zone and then have you stuck because now you're just comfortable and just being in your corner when you're meant to stand out, when what you're called to is for you to be more than what you're comfortable with. I don't mind living a life of uncomfortability as long as I know that I'm in the right place. You know what I mean? So that's something that I pride myself on. If I got to be uncomfortable, I don't have issue progressing uncomfortably because you can't progress in comfortability. You know what I mean? You may feel like you are because it may seem like, everything's going right, but you know, sometimes you just got to make sure that you know that, hey, this is comfortable. This is what I'm used to, but I'm pretty sure there's more for me than me doing what I've been doing for the past 20 years, for the past 15 years. And sometimes I feel like even the way what God works, bro, I feel like even sometimes he'll allow people to come into your life and let you know, hey, there's more. Like I know you are enjoying where you are. Like I know you like what you're doing now. I know that you like, how things are going now because again, you're comfortable. You're around people that you're comfortable with. You're around people that love you and support you. But there's more. There's more to your story. You know, there's more to what you're here on earth for. You know what I mean? And I think that, when people realize that, trust me, and that's not to say that you won't ever, want to succumb to a comfort zone, but it'll make it easier for you to think also like, okay, I know this is cool. Like I've been here before. I know, it's something I can always revert to, but what I'm trying to do, it's going to require me to move in a place where like I may not know what's next when I make this move. I may not know what exactly is going to come out of this. I may not know who's affected by this new venture or this new idea or this new invention or this new decision I'm going to make that I know is going to affect me, but I'm worried about who outside of me is going to hear, see, witness. You know what I mean? So yeah, man. Yeah, bro. And one thing I learned is your comfort zone will make you feel like, okay, rest in your comfort zone until it's perfect. And what I've had to learn, and I've heard different people like preach and talk about stuff like this, but you have to realize that if you do something or you wait or you think about it so much about whether something's perfect enough for you to do it, or you think that the situation is perfect enough for you to do it, you probably won't ever get to it. Because to be honest, there is no perfect situation. There is no perfect, there is such thing as perfect timing. You may come to a point where like something happens and it's just right on time. But when it comes to trying something new or venturing out to something that you've never really done before, trying to wait for the perfect time to do it and trying to wait for somebody else to give you confirmation, and that's all you're worried about is somebody telling you that, yeah, this is right. Nah. Again, that is an easy door opening thing, or easy door opener for you to revert to what's comfortable, because your thing is like, okay, well, nobody's telling me how good I am. Nobody's telling me I should do this. So I'm just going, until somebody tells me that and give me that confirmation, I'm just going to stay over here where I've been for the last 15, 10 years. You know what I mean? Like I said, even with myself, an example, even like with this whole like podcasting, commentary, thing, like, you know, I knew that like God put this in my heart to do, because I've always had a love for journalism, for stuff like that. So, I knew that at some point, okay, you got to stop waiting for somebody to tell you, okay, this is for you to do. No, if you know it was on your heart to do it, there's no point in you waiting for somebody to tell you, you should be doing this. Nah, because you already heard the word first. You already had it in your heart already. You know what I mean? Because even with this, even to go deeper, pause. I'll say it like this. Thinking about it specifically, you know, even from a comfortable place, it will stop you from even planning the next move. You'll be so comfortable in what you're around and who's around and being used to certain things, you'll even you'll even stop yourself from planning. Even planning won't be a thing, because you're like, well, I'm just gonna wait. Nah. Because like I say, even with this, I have it in my mind, and I'm trying to like really pray about the direction I should go with this. But like, I'm thinking about even having like guests on here for me to like talk to them about certain topics, interviewing, stuff like that. And a lot of times my first thought was, well, you don't really have that many viewers. You don't really have that many people that's tuned in enough. You don't really have people that consistently watch or even provide feedback or provide any kind of like talk back to what you're doing. And a lot of times I think that, if I'm being honest, I thought about that and was like, dang, like that is kind of true. Like, I don't really got nobody watching right now. Like, I don't know if I should really do this. But you never know. And this is why you can't be distracted by comfort zones. You really never know how something works out unless you try it. Comfort zones can be a blinder as well, because you'll literally be sitting there so busy thinking about and overthinking about how it can't work out, why it can't work out, and the reasons why you're not ready, that years will go by, months will go by, seasons will go by, and when you could have been gotten started, you'll still be in that comfort zone of overthinking, that comfort zone of overanalyzing, that comfort zone of simply doubting yourself and fearing of something that you don't even know, fearing something that you haven't even been faced with, fearing something that you can't even describe, because you ain't been through it. You ain't even tried to even say, you know what, nah, this ain't it. So that's just something to think about, because again, while comfort zones are, they can be cool, Sometimes they can be reassuring. Sometimes they can be a safe space. You also don't want to be in a place where, you know, you're stuck, or, you know, as soon as you get to a place of being unsure, it's like, well, I'm just gonna go back to what I was doing over there. Well, it didn't, the idea didn't turn out the way I thought it was gonna be the first time, so I'm just gonna, go back over there, and you know, I'll think about picking it back up another time. I'll just nah. Comfort zones, I believe, are not meant to. They're not meant to keep you stuck all the time. It's not meant to psych you out. It's not meant to keep you fearful. It's not meant to keep you inside your head. I believe it's meant to, you know, of course, sometimes be a fallback plan. Sometimes it's there to, let you know that you do have support, that you do have people who are counting on you and people that you can count on. But at the same time, it's not meant for you to not go after your dream, or it's not meant for you to not go after the visions or dream that you have for yourself, or that new skill that you want to try. It's not meant to keep you from that. So, you know, that's something that, again, we have to all find a way to overcome, because trust me, I feel like for everybody, reassurance is a big thing, because everybody goes through a time of uncertainty. Times of should I not? Can I really? Am I ready? And the thing is, even if you doubt yourself like that about whether you can do something, whether you're ready, that's why you still prepare for it. Because in a comfort zone would say, I'm just going to stop doing it altogether. I'm going to quit. I can't do it. But a sign of wanting to try something and branch out to something, it's really the way you prepare. Why while you even before you take that step, even how you prepare is a sure sign that, hey, even if I'm not sure about this right now, I'm going to still work on it. I'm still going to prepare for it. I'm still going to write those ideas down. I'm still going to, you know, write those dreams down, write those aspirations down. So that's my headspace with that right now. Just keep writing them down. Pray over it, meditate on it, so that, you know, again, you're still looking with tunnel vision, and not from a place of like, well, it might not work. Because that right there, that's a comfort zone thought. That's a thought that keeps you stagnant, that keeps you, walking backwards. And that's another vice of you psyching yourself out of something that you probably want to do in the first place, but it's not necessarily natural to you yet. So my advice would be to just keep going forward, even if you're scared, even if it looks unfamiliar, even if it looks, uncommon, even if it looks like a far cry from what you've always known, or what you've always been taught, or what you've always been shown, or even if it doesn't match the surroundings that you're used to. Keep going. Don't let your comfort zone be a crutch or a crippler. So that's what I got. Bro, you gotta stop. Yo, you hilarious, yo. Yo, I remember our Job Corps days. You used to have me cracking up during Job Corps days, bro. That joint was crazy. I still be the church I work at, Coleman be there too. Me and Coleman still be like talking and stuff. I was actually talking to Coleman today too. That's the funny part. I was talking to Coleman today. I ain't seen Mark in a minute. I wonder what he doing. And I still talk to Davina sometimes. That's like my grown child. But yeah. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And actually I got a something that kept me going or that made me want to keep going. Actually reached out to a drummer that I follow, and I was just telling him like, yo, like you was really killing on these videos that I saw from like a recent concert. Like you was really smacking, bro. Like you was playing the records. Like keep doing what you're doing. You know what I mean? And he kind of, I mean, he showed love back, but I was kind of surprised. He's like, I'm inspired by you too. That kind of threw me off. He said he was inspired by me, like, cause in my mind, I'm like, bro, ain't no way you inspired by me. I can't do half of what you do on drums. Like, you got it. But again, that goes to also show you of why you should keep going. That why you should move beyond your comfort zone. You never know. You never know who's watching. You never know who's waiting for you to win. You never know who's, rooting for you to win, to get to the next level. You never know who wishes you well. Even if you never met that person, even if y'all don't even know each other, you never know who's really rooting for you and who's just waiting for the moment that you win. Because in a way they'll feel like they've won too. You know what I mean? So yeah, man. Yeah, bro. Yeah, yeah. Come through anytime, bro. Every Sunday at 10 a.m. we be in service, bro. And I think I'm not sure. We probably having a service on New Year's Eve, and it might be at like 10 p.m. I think either 9:30 or 10. One of those. But yeah, bro, come out anytime. 1400 B Street near South Bridge in Wilmington. So yeah, man. So that's that. One more thing. I'm not gonna be long with this one, but I seen a post about church is a business. Um, to an extent, I believe church should be ran like a business. I don't think you should say church is a business, mainly because when you say church is a business, it gives off the vibe of like saying that church is merely there to make money. And you don't want to give that message off. You don't want to give people the inclination to think that, like, oh, so y'all only have this church because y'all just here to make, like, nah. Like the church is definitely, it takes money to run a church. It takes money to keep the lights on. It keeps it, it takes money to, it takes money to keep a church afloat. It takes money to, make sure that the church has resources, in case of emergency or in case of a need, or, even when it comes to like the community, it takes money to maintain certain resources and to be able to get things out into the community. Um, I do feel like the church should be treated or ran like a business, because I think that a lot of times, especially where we're in this era of like, well, it's probably not just a now era, but in an era where people are being hired for things in church now. These days, you have the praise team who may be people that's from the church, but they'll bring in a worship leader and they may bring an extra person or so to help out. So, these days, even the band may not even be like members of that church. You know what I mean? So I do believe that church should be ran like a business. If you want something done right, you gonna pay for somebody to make sure it's done right. And there are some churches that also believe that you shouldn't, people should, use people that's within the church. But this is where I don't think it's a dilemma, but I think we got to think about this too. Before you mention stuff like that, make sure that you're raising up people within that ministry, and don't wait until they're on their way out to be like, wait, you should learn how, like, no. Of course, if they don't want to do it, you can't make them learn how to do certain things. But make sure, I'm from a church where a lot of the musicians that came through, or that were playing at the church, they were a part of the church. They were already a member. You know what I mean? So, and even with that, I still feel like business should be business within the church. Sometimes I feel like sometimes the church is the only place, right, where you're allowed to maybe do something, not as skillfully as you ought to. Like, you can be at a church and not do something as excellent or as skillful as you ought to, and you'll still get paid for doing it. You know what I mean? And I feel like if it's ran like a business, there should always be like an expectation, especially if you're getting paid for a service, whether you're a drummer, whether you're a musician, whether you're a praise and worship leader, whether you're a sound man, whether you're, you know, whatever titles they have, even if the church is like ran like an office or whatever, like, there should be a standard of excellence that should be involved, when it comes to church. I definitely do believe that, again, that church should be ran like a business. I don't want to say it is a business, because again, that sets a bad precedent that, you know, churches are only around for monetary purposes. What I like about eZion is that when you're giving the offering, the tithing, even if it's a love offering, whatever, you know where your money is going. You know that, the church is trying to pay something off, or that the church is trying to pay for X, Y, and Z to happen, or they're trying to get something built, or they're trying to complete the building fund, like, and that's, to me, that's how you do proper business. Let people know where their money is going. Let people know, you know, where they're putting their money at. Hey, when you put your money in that basket, you're putting some money towards, again, a building fund, or something that the pastor or the church is trying to get built, a rec center, a senior center, um, something, to get the church remodeled, like, whatever it is. I think it's good business for people to know where their money's going. I can always respect that about eZion, because you're not going to ever feel like your money's being wasted when you give it. You're never going to feel like, you know, your money is just getting thrown, or your money is just going to the pastor for them to be able to drive a nice car. Like, nah, especially with the pastor E Zion, highly educated, and he already was doing his thing before he went to E Zion. So you ain't gonna go to E Zion and feel like all your money is just going to the pastor so he can have a new suit. You know what I mean? So yeah, I definitely believe the church should be ran like a business, with the expectations to match, not just people getting paid and then you not even doing the job right. All right. That's funny, bro. That's funny. Yeah, man. Because honestly, Pastor Curry is a pastor of Zion Fair Baptist Church, and I can say he's not no flashy dude. He wears nice stuff, but he ain't some overly flashy person. He ain't trying to show off, and he ain't trying to, he's not on the type time of using a church to finance. Like I said, he already had his own stuff going on before he got there to pastor. So, I just think that, again, church should be ran like a business. It should be ran like a business. Seriously. Seriously. So okay. I yawned. Okay. So with that being said, with me yawning like that, I'm gonna get out of here. Thanks for the conversation, my bro. Des, man. That's my guy, bro. For real. I ain't seen you in a minute either. Um, but yeah, I'm gonna get out of here. Again, I gotta be up early, so thanks for tuning in, y'all. For everybody that hopped in, even if it's for a quick second or didn't say what's up, thank you for even being in the conversation. And we're gonna keep doing more of these. I'm gonna try to be more consistent, even more than I am, because I've been kind of doing every other Monday, but I want to do every Monday as much as I can. So again, thank you for tuning in. Trust me, stick with me. We gonna do stuff. I'm gonna have guests. We're gonna do. I want to do a live about my favorite gospel records. So we're gonna do that too. This is kind of for the church folk. If you want to join in though, you're not from if you're not churchy, that's fine. But I'm gonna be naming my top 5 choir albums real soon. Um I can't wait. That's gonna be fun. I'm gonna give some commentary on all of them and how they, how I feel about the music on there. Some of them gonna be old, some of them gonna be new, some of them are gonna be like kind of the stuff that I listened to when I first started listening to choirs. So that's gonna be fun. But yeah, we're gonna be doing more stuff. I want to do like interviews. I want to have people join in conversations with me about certain things. Um, I can't wait. Again, you taking my own advice. I don't want to scare myself out of it. I don't want to comfort zone my way out of executing ideas that I have written down, that I have thought about. So we gonna do it. We gonna do it. And again, um, I'll be live Mondays at 7. I'm trying to think about if I want to have it at 7 anymore. Either 6 or 7, one of those. I don't know. But yes, I'll be streaming here on Mondays at 7. Facebook, Brandon Cunningham. Twitch, he's just churchy. And YouTube, he's just churchy. All right. Again, thanks for the conversation, y'all. Be yourself. Don't let nothing scare you away. And go after your opportunities. They're waiting on you. Somebody wants to see you win. All right. Peace.